You now know how Colpali works, how its memory footprint can be optimized, and how Movera speeds up multi-vector search. Let's put all these different pieces together and build a functioning multimodal RAG system based on Colpali. Let's build something. In previous lessons, we've seen how Colpali enables visual document retrieval through multi-vector embeddings. Now, you will build a complete RAG system that combines Colpali's retrieval with OpenAI's vision models for generation. This approach lets you answer questions about documents by retrieving relevant pages and having a vision-capable language model read them directly. No OCR needed. You will start by loading the OpenAI API key from the environment file and creating an OpenAI client. You will recreate the collection from lesson 3 that contains Colpali embeddings with various optimizations. This ensures you can run this lesson independently without completing lesson 3 first. The collection includes multiple optimization strategies, original embeddings, binary and scalar quantization, and different kinds of pooling. In the previous lesson, you explored Movera, which compresses Colpali's variable length multi-vector embeddings into fixed dimensional encodings. This enables HNSW indexing for faster search at scale. You will add Movera embeddings to the same collection to demonstrate two-stage retrieval, using Movera for fast candidate retrieval, then re-ranking with Colpali for maximum accuracy. Let's create a Movera instance with the same configuration like in the previous lesson. As a next step, you will recreate the quadrant collection with all the memory optimizations, including Movera embeddings. You have another helper function to achieve exactly this. The recreate Colpali optimizations collection helper function imported all the memory optimizations we discussed in one of the previous lessons and also created Movera representations for the original Colpali multi-vectors. Don't be surprised if you see a slightly different output of that cell, because this is taking quite a long time and we decided to import just a few documents by default. It's time for queries. To embed them, we need the Colpali processor and the model. You will use the same model like we used earlier in the course to ensure the query embeddings match the document embeddings we already have in Quadrant. Let's define another helper function to convert text queries into Colpali multi-vector embeddings. This helper will be used internally by all our retriever functions, keeping the embedding logic consistent across different retrieval strategies. You can now test the helper function with a sample question about the documents in the collection. Instead of embedding queries separately and passing them to search functions, you will create a unified retriever that handles query embedding internally and returns a list of image path and score tuples. The retrieve function takes a textual query and sets using parameter of the query points method of Quadrant's SDK to a specific vector name that we want to use for retrieval in that particular case. Because some of the optimization methods we discussed earlier are quantization methods and Quadrant has a rescoring function built in, we specifically say that we don't want to use the rescoring mechanism because otherwise we could get better results than just with quantized vectors. Another helper function will run search with two-stage retrieval. It will use Movera embeddings as an initial prefetch mechanism, and then it will re-rank with the vectors that you want to use at that stage. Obviously, we could rescore with the original Colpali embeddings. However, if we are able to use pooled vectors, we could also save the memory and still get decent results out of this two-stage retrieval. So we are actually going to test both Movera for faster retrieval and different kinds of memory optimizations to get the best out of both worlds. Let's test our retriever function with a sample query. The retrieval will handle the query embedding generation internally and will return the top results. Here are the top PDF pages for the query, how does the human brain work? Now let's focus on the generation part. You will send the retrieved document pages to GPT-4o along with the user's question. GPT-4o can read text, diagrams, and formulas directly from the images to generate accurate answers. There are different parts of that process. First of all, we are sending a system prompt telling the model to answer our questions based only on the provided document images. We also want to have an answer generated as a markdown so we can just render that properly. Then we'll pass the original prompt sent to the system. Finally, you will attach all the images provided to this particular function. At the very end, this entire interaction will be sent to the OpenAI service to get the LLM output. Let's test the generation with the previously retrieved documents and see how GPT-4o answers our question. Nice, you've just implemented a retrieval augmented generation that works directly on visual documents. Let's test our complete RAG workflow with several different questions. First of all, you will retrieve documents for all the queries using the original Colpali retriever, extract the image paths, and generate the answer using GPT-4o's vision capabilities. This two-step approach, retrieve and generate, using separate functions, makes the process explicit and gives us full control over each stage. You are not only displaying the answer as generated by the LLM, but also the input images that we sent along with the prompt. The same goes for the second query from our dataset. And the last query. At this point, it shouldn't be surprising that original Colpali vectors did a pretty good job. However, in practice, you will typically try to optimize that process using all the techniques that we learned. And for that, you stored multiple optimized vectors in the same collection, so you can just test different optimization methods. Let's test some of the techniques we used in one of the previous lessons. You will specifically use binary quantized vectors and hierarchical token pooling with pool factors set to 2. If you now test the same retriever but using different optimization techniques, you should see some different outputs because the input documents will be obviously slightly different. Here's the answer generated for the binary quantized version of our embeddings. Even though it didn't use the same set of images, it still provided a pretty valid response to the input prompt. Hierarchical token pooling was doing even a better job in our experiments, and not surprisingly, it also did a good job. However, memory optimization is typically not enough. As we saw in the previous lesson, Movera alone can have lower precision compared to the original Colpali multivectors, but it offers significantly faster search through HNSW indexing. The optimal production approach combines both. Use Movera to quickly retrieve a broader set of candidates, and then re-rank those candidates with any optimization method for the final results. That's why you created a retrieve with two-stage function that implements this pattern using quadrants prefetch mechanism with a flexible re-ranking strategy to control it. Let's see it in action. Let's test the two-stage retrieval and compare it with the original Colpali retriever. For this comparison, you will use the default re-ranking strategy with original full Colpali embeddings after Movera's fast prefetch. That should hopefully maintain high accuracy while benefiting from Movera's HNSW search, which is especially important when scaling to larger document collections. Let's see how the Movera two-stage retrieval results look like. It's not surprising that original Colpali vectors are still doing basically the same thing. However, if we apply two-stage retrieval with Movera and Colpali re-ranking, we are still getting pretty decent results. The original Colpali retriever does a really good job, but this is our baseline. And two-stage retrieval with Movera and Colpali re-ranking is actually using a very good set of input images, so the output of the LLM is grounded in the knowledge we have. And while Movera handles fast prefetch with HNSW indexing, the re-ranking stage can use any optimization method, not necessarily the original vectors. As a last step, let's compare how these different re-ranking strategies affect retrieval quality and performance. When we run this experiment, the documents retrieved by Movera will be re-ranked using original Colpali vectors, binary quantized ones, and hierarchical token pooling. Each re-ranking strategy offers different trade-offs. Original Colpali provides the highest accuracy with full max computation across all multivectors. However, binary quantization offers faster re-ranking by using compressed representation, and it also significantly reduces the amount of memory needed to keep all the vectors, though with slightly reduced precision. Hierarchical token pooling reduces the number of vectors to compare to during re-ranking, providing another speed accuracy balance point. In production, you may choose binary quantization for cost-sensitive applications, or stick with original Colpali when maximum accuracy is critical. In this lesson, we built a complete multimodal RAG system combining Colpali's visual retrieval with OpenAI's vision models. The two-stage retrieval pattern using Movera is particularly powerful for production systems. It combines the speed of HNSW indexes, while ranking is quite flexible as we can use any optimization method. Throughout the entire course, you learned how to build a retrieval system working directly on scanned documents, PDFs, or images. There are two key issues related to multivectors. The first is high memory usage thanks to all those vectors. You can mitigate this issue by using quantization or pooling techniques.